Hi everyone, we're going to ask everyone to start taking their seats. We're going to start serving lunch soon, and we've got a full agenda, so we want to get this party started. If you don't know me, I'm Jessica Gerard. I'm your president-elect for NAAR. I wanted to start this meeting, even though she's going to hate me for doing it, by wishing a big happy birthday to Miss Erin Wheeler. And I was hoping Becky would be here as well, but she's not, so we'll just embarrass Erin today. Happy birthday, Erin. Right back at you, Jessica. Mine's tomorrow.
Don't rush that.
Yeah. We don't have any super announcements for NAAR, but if anyone in the audience, if any of you guys have any announcements, we'd love to hear from you. Anybody?
Any new members?
Any new members? Oh, Heather, let's hear it.
I hate coming up and speaking, but I am the chair for the Community Outreach Committee, and I need all of you guys. I need a lot more of all of you guys. So we have the food centers that we do once a month. So next Wednesday from 3:30 to about 6, I need lots of volunteers. I need 5 to 6 volunteers to serve dinner. So if you guys have any interest in either your brokerage, your office, whatever it may be, come talk to me, come find me. I'd love to talk to you guys a little more and see what we can connect.
Or maybe, do we have like 5 volunteers right now that could raise their hand and agree to it? I see Stephanie Allen. Who else? We've got 2. We need 3 more. Oh, there's 3. Scott, good job. Come on, 2 more. Hey, 1 more. We're all looking at you. There's someone at your table that's doing it. All right, for those of you who signed up, find 1 more person. There you go, Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Anybody else, any new members, or have you changed offices? Anything exciting to talk about?
Blood drive next Tuesday. That's my Step Home Realty. So if you can't donate your time there, you can give us your blood.
How many spots do you need? Raise your hand.
Well, I'm waiting on Judy. If Judy agrees to donate blood, we'll be a little bit closer. She's almost there.
What?
To donate blood.
All right, thanks everyone. Yeah, the blood drive is awesome. If you haven't donated blood, you get a text when they've used your blood, which is really the best feeling, to get that random text that you saved somebody's life. So I do recommend that everybody do that when they can. So without further ado, I know you guys all know we have a new commissioner, and he has been grateful enough to come speak with us today. So I am very excited to announce Commissioner Dettorre with the Arizona Department of Real Estate.
Good morning, everyone, or should I say good afternoon. How are you? Can you hear me okay? I'm not very good at staying behind the podium often, but I'm going to do my best because I see we're on camera here. I love technology and this ring light. Don't look directly into it, you might go blind, right? So I'm Louis Dettorre. I'm the commissioner at the Arizona Department of Real Estate. How many of you have heard me talk before? Oh, that's a lot of hands. That's fantastic. I just want to say thank you to Jessica and especially to Judy for having me here today. It's really a pleasure to be with you. I've been the commissioner at the Department of Real Estate. I was appointed in September of last year upon the, we'll say, retirement from state service from my predecessor, Commissioner Lowe. How many of you knew Commissioner Judy Lowe? Lots of hands. Isn't she fantastic? She was our real estate commissioner for 12 and a half years, which is really remarkable from the state service perspective, and especially from the Arizona Department of Real Estate, really the second longest serving commissioner in Arizona history. So I had the opportunity to work with Commissioner Lowe for 10 of her 12 and a half years, most recently as her deputy commissioner for the last 6. I started at the department in 2012 as a legislative liaison, and certainly, working in a small agency, right now we have 26 employees. You'll hear this through the slides. I don't want to break news to you before the slide comes out, but I will. We have currently 92,000 real estate licensees in the state. So we really have a very dedicated and great staff of public servants that work very hard to serve the state and the real estate profession through what they do. So I'll get into some of that, but I wanted to share just a little bit about my background and from an ongoing perspective at the department. You're going to hear and see through some of these slides that we've done a lot of great work at the department, and we're going to continue to do that in prioritizing you all as far as customer service and timeliness and in our regulatory authority, of course, to do things the right way and uphold the integrity of our real estate profession, which, when I come to meetings like this, I know that I'm preaching to the choir often, but I do want to give you some information that you can share in the community and with your peers as well as we move forward. I like to take questions, and I know I have about 30 minutes, so I'm really going to work hard to stay on time. And I did tell Judy to give me the hook when it's time, and she's not going to be shy about that, because I know we have other great speakers to hear from today. So, but I do encourage your questions as we go through. Just pop your hand up, and I'll try to make sure that we have time at the end for those questions as well. So a little bit about the Department of Real Estate. You likely know what we do, but since the last time anyone from the Department of Real Estate was here, I want to make sure that we hit these points in case there's anything that's new. So we license salespersons, brokers, and entities in the state. We also have an education division that approves courses, schools, and instructors. We'll always need instructors, so if there's anybody that's willing and able to do that, please let us know for that. We have a development services division. We're going to talk a little bit about the amount of development that we've seen in the state over the last several years, and we're going to talk a little bit about what the public report is and the public report requirement, because it's just so important. We have a homeowners association dispute process. I like to call it the homeowners association dispute resolution process, because that's really what it's intended to be, is to provide an avenue for resolution. Thank you for that tip. Can everyone hear me in the back? Great. It's an avenue for a homeowner that has a dispute with their HOA, or an HOA that has a dispute with a property owner, honestly, to file a petition with the Department of Real Estate, and for that petition, that complaint, to be heard by the Office of Administrative Hearings and with an administrative law judge. So what's important to know about that process is that the Department of Real Estate, we don't have oversight or regulatory authority over homeowners associations or community management associations, but our legislature did give us a process from another state agency back in 2016, gave it to the Department of Real Estate, for us to be an avenue for a complaint to be heard, to be shared over at the Office of Administrative Hearings for possible resolution. I did see a hand. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a regulatory?
That's a great question. Your name? Tamara, great question. So the question was, is there an agency or a body that has oversight over HOAs? And the answer to that is no, not specifically. HOAs are registered with the Corporation Commission as a nonprofit corporation, but there's no licensing requirement or the like. So very good question. Thank you very much for that. We have an auditing and investigations division. I'm sure that no one in this room has heard from our investigations department or enforcement and compliance department, but we do have that, and that's who reviews our public complaints that we receive, and often a lot of complaints that we receive from real estate professionals. And we'll get into some of that here in just a moment. All right, here we go. So I already broke the news, so this isn't going to be shocking to you, but we have about 92,000 real estate licensees in the state. Here's our total licensees. So this includes salespersons, brokers, entities, those in the grace period, active, inactive. But overall, we have about 70,000 that are active in the trenches assisting buyers and sellers in real estate transactions. I like numbers, I like graphs, and this is probably a symptom of looking and analyzing all this stuff for so many years. But I find it fascinating to see where we've been, right, and where we are right now, and then where we could possibly be. But I don't have a crystal ball. Lots of us wish that we did have one to know what the market's going to look like. The market's changing a little bit, right? And maybe, I don't know if it's safe to say that it's slowing down, but it is changing throughout the state and throughout the country as well. So we'll just have to all see where that goes ones together. So that's about, on average, 553 new licensees each month. And this was over the last fiscal year. Now, there's those that drop off, that left their license with their grace period or terminate, so there's a little bit of a balancing effect. But the takeaway there, 553 new, on average, new licensees each month. And we process those applications with our online services in an average of 1 day. Our real estate bulletin, a little bit of housekeeping here. How many of you have read our bulletin in the past? Lots of hands, that's great. Here's a guy, I'm gonna throw out I was just in Yuma yesterday, and I delivered this joke. It got some laughs, but I'm gonna try again here. So you don't have to humor me too much, but I'll do it anyway. So before you get to the most, your favorite part of the bulletin, or the most popular part of the bulletin, which is the last pages, right? At least read the commissioner's article. I've heard he spends a lot of time writing that. So our bulletin will probably come out on Friday or more early next week. And I encourage you, if you're not signed up for it, put your email address in our. That's great. I love that. I love that. I haven't heard that in a long time. Great. So please just put your email address in our website, and you'll pull that down, and you'll get that right to your email address. A few other things that we do. These couple slides here, as we put out information of what's going on, what we're doing. I share this as really just a reminder, as a talking point, to let you know that we have lots of opportunities at the department through hybrid meetings or otherwise that folks in rural Arizona, otherwise, you can get involved and participate in public meetings. Like our advisory board is a public meeting where you can participate and you can listen to what the conversation is as well. We have an education advisory committee that provides recommendations to the department regarding education. And we have other meetings such as our partners meeting, real estate partners meeting, and development services. And those are all around, those are all available. If you have questions about that, you can email me, contact our office, and let us know that you're interested in getting some information on that. So let's get into some of the nuts and bolts of some of the things that we're hearing. I shared yesterday when I was doing a presentation that oftentimes when I share this, it feels a bit like I'm lecturing or I'm providing that, and that's certainly not the perspective as I share this that I would like that to be taken. We definitely receive a lot of information through phone calls, through complaints, and through other mediums that we hear really what's going on, and we want to share that with you so you can put something in the back of your mind, for as we're all aiming to do things the right way, we know what the requirements are, we know what the hot topics are. So I say that with a caveat, but this is important, and this is what we're hearing, this is what our statute or our rule says about these items. So licensees working outside of their expertise, is that a question or a problem or something that we hear in Flagstaff, Northern Arizona? I see lots of heads nodding and a yes, thank you for that. I'll tell you a story. So I was in a rural area of the state a few months ago, and there was a licensee, a broker, that came to me and said, Lewis, you need to tell your Phoenix agents that they have to work within their expertise. And if they're not working in their expertise, they need to get something in writing from their client that gives them permission in order to do so. So I share this with you, share the requirement with you, because we know in rural Arizona, in Flagstaff, what are the differences, right, between a property in Phoenix? Needs and bounds are different, there's different septic issues, water questions, and a host of other things as well. So we share this information, I share this with our Phoenix agents, with our Valley individuals, and tell them, work with your broker, work with your designated broker in concert with your broker's policies and procedures to ensure that you are not working outside of your expertise. And get something in writing if you are, and highly advisable, don't work outside of your expertise, right? Unlicensed activity, any questions around unlicensed activity here? I know I wake up in the morning and I probably get a few emails a week that say, can you check on this company because I'm not sure that they're licensed and I think they should be licensed. So we have to research and we look into, do an investigation to see whether or not their activity requires a real estate license. Remember, wholesaling. Wholesaling has been a conversation throughout Arizona as I've traveled and talked about that. The activity of wholesaling is not unnecessarily unlawful. However, it certainly can present a lot of questions to a seller that may be in distress and not know what they're entering into. Right? There was legislation that was passed this last legislative session that requires a wholesale contract to have a disclosure that it is a wholesale contract. Otherwise, the deal can be rescinded and the earnest money can be yielded. So again, remembering that part, but also for real estate licensees, know that unfortunately or fortunately, nothing takes away your requirement to disclose that you have a real estate license. And I encourage you to disclose that you have a real estate license early and often. We had one situation last year around a wholesale deal, and it's on our website, where the individual was a real estate licensee entering into wholesale contracts, putting clouds on people's titles, and about 26 properties had clouded their titles, so they couldn't do anything with their property unless they paid a fee at the direction of the licensee by their contract. There's lots of other issues with that went on, but his license was revoked by the Office of Administrative Hearings because of that instance. So again, regarding wholesaling, it's an important topic to know. Disclose if you have a real estate license, and if it's a wholesale deal, per the legislation, disclose that it's a wholesale transaction. Any questions to this point? No? How am I doing on time? Okay, all right. Advertising. Advertising. So historically, as I've been at the department for the last, like I said, over 10 years or so, this has always been a point of conversation, and I think it probably always will be a point of conversation. And to that end, this last year, I worked with the Association of Realtors to update an advertising guidance document around the rules and the statutes and what they say around advertising. I really recommend, if you're a broker, how many brokers do we have in the room? Lots of hands. Very good. And otherwise, just licensees. Lots of folks with sales licenses. Great. Like I said, I'm preaching to the choir, but I just wanted to just see how many brokers were in the room. So as we updated this advertising guidance, it really is intended to be like a desk guide, a desk document that you can review and you can refer to if you have any questions around team advertising, signage for your offices, branch offices, how to conform to the corporate office, right? And all of those important points. So it avoids us getting a nasty note from someone around your advertising. I will share with you, if you had to guess what percentage of complaints that we receive at the department from other real estate licensees, what would you say? Do you have any takers on that? Any guess? 60%. So it's a little less than that, at least this last month. But I will share with you that I've been asked that question so often. That's why I went back and I started doing a little bit of research and got some figures. So this last month, 25% of the complaints that we received were from real estate licensees. And I share that with you not to say don't file a complaint with us, because commissioner's required to investigate any written complaint that we receive, and then I can investigate any other item that I feel is important. Right? So I share with you, submit that complaint to us, but you are all, as you're seeing things in the community, in the profession, you're sharing that information with the department, and that's a good thing. The majority of those complaints that we receive are around advertising. Sometimes it feels that I have an inbox on my desk of just the anonymous letters that come in that are postmarked out of Las Vegas, because nobody wants to know, or wants to do it and go too close to their area, but it'll be a sign. So I really do, though, strongly encourage everyone to take a look at this document that's available and use it as a resource before there's an issue. Subdivision and public reports. How many in the room are familiar with the public report? Lots of hands. Very good. So I am going to just share. So a public report is as for our subdivision public report is a required document to be provided to a prospective purchaser if they're purchasing into a community with 6 or more lots or parcels. So if an individual, not just for new home builds, but investors as well, you own 6 or more lots or parcels, it does include condominiums as well. You need to have a public report. If you're not sure, if you're assisting a client, and you're not sure if there's an existing public report that's available for those lots or parcels, go to our website, do a little search about the property, and there may be an existing public report. If you need to update that, or you have questions, let us know. We'll assist you to the best of our ability without giving legal advice, but we will assist you to what the requirements are around that. Very important document, as the state talks about water, right? Talks about water and other elements, other items. That public report includes 25 different items that are really important to a prospective purchaser. Not just water, if there's a certificate of assured water supply, but where are the schools, are the roads finished, where are the utilities, what are the property tax assessments, is there an HOA, those type of items that are very, very important. We often hear at the department, after that public report was not provided, and it should have been, what do I do now? I didn't know that I needed a public report. So I share this because it's not an issue until it is. So knowing, putting a seed in the back of your mind about that public report in advance can help to avoid any issues in the future. Failure to disclose material facts of, talking to E&O insurance providers. Oftentimes the complaints that we receive about failure to disclose are very similar to what's going on through civil litigation as well. So I like to share this as well. Disclosing owner agent for those sales, very important, as well as, like I said, disclosing that you have a real estate license and any sort of familial interest in a deal. We see that in relation to some of the wholesale transactions that we hear about as well. That not being something that's disclosed is certainly a question to an individual consumer. So the last thing I want to share here around professionalism in our bulletin that's going to come out, I hate to just break the news on this too, but it's going to talk a lot about professionalism. And we have done so in the past as well. We don't have a statute specifically that says, I call this our 2153B statute. I didn't joke with our enforcement and compliance manager. He says, we don't have a B20 statute that says you're a bad person. Right? We don't have a violation around that. But what we can refer to is our duties to the client about doing things the right way, both for our consumer, but also to assist other licensees as you communicate through courtesy, through kindness, through returning calls or whatnot. I haven't been in a meeting or a presentation probably in the last year where there hasn't been an element or a question that said, I can't get a call back. And when I do, it's, somebody sends me a nasty note. Like I said, I'm preaching to the choir here, but I do think that it's important that we remember that those are some issues that are out there. We can assist each other through just remembering professionalism. As realtors, you subscribe to a code of ethics, which is really intended to be a cut above what the statutory requirements are as well. But just remembering professionalism. I'll give a quick story, and maybe this will get a couple chuckles as well. One issue that we had last year was a complaint that we received from a consumer that said that, so an agent entered their property using the lockbox key in the middle of the night. I think it was after midnight. And she proceeded to try on some clothes, had a snack out of the refrigerator, took a bath, took some pictures off of the wall, right? And after that, her license terminated. She didn't want to renew, and she thought, well, I'll leave Arizona and nothing will happen. Well, her license was revoked because that was very troubling behavior of a real estate license and lots of violations there. So I tell that story at the same time as talking about professionalism because that's, of course, beyond the pale, right? That's not exactly what we're talking about, but some of the things that we hear of, both you hear about in the community, and we do at the department, quite troubling, right? Especially in that example. So courtesy and kindness as well. Talk about presenting all offers, failure to disclose, and whatnot. So I'll share here around our, just going back to our development services quickly. We're seeing a lot of development in northern Arizona. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of development in Phoenix and the Valley as well, really throughout the state. Over the last 3 years, I think this year we were just below last year, which is the 10-year high. The number of applications that we received to our Development Services Division, which was, like I said, a 10-year high, and those include subdivision public reports, amendments to existing public reports, exemptions, and whatnot. Very, very busy, a lot of activity going on there. So you're all keeping us very busy. Going back to the public report, we do have a brochure that's available on our website around the nuanced questions around that too. So talk about our legislative session. One other item though that I'll share around that is, would you know that even state agencies get audited? Go through a process where we had to be continued by our Arizona legislature as well. So all of you brokers that have gone through an audit with the Department of Real Estate know that state agencies go through that process too of being audited. We went through it just fine. We were renewed by our legislature this last year and authorized to be in existence for another 8 years. So we'll continue to serve the real estate profession for at least another 8 years until the legislature takes up their work again the next time. And this isn't just the Department of Real Estate that goes through this process, but this is all state agencies that do. We'll have a legislative overview on our website in probably the next few weeks that'll outline lots of other bills and lots of other things too that just you'll want to be aware of. And read it. I say that you could print that down at the same time as you print our bulletin in an advertising document and put that on your nightstand. So when you have some sleepless nights and you're not sure what to do with that, you can read the Department of Real Estate literature. We'll have that available for you. So I'll close with this, and then I'll welcome any questions that you have. But just from a philosophy perspective and how the department really views this important point. So, as I shared with you, the Department of Real Estate at this time has 26 employees serving 92,000 real estate licensees, and the public and anyone else who calls us, and we have an obligation and a duty to serve. We have the statutes and the rules that are enacted by our legislature to help us govern, right, and to regulate the real estate profession by our statute. But I'll tell you that as just 26 employees, right, and having the statutes and the rules behind us, we do a great job and will continue to. But we really need the partnership and collaboration of you all to share and spread the message of how to do things the right way that ensure that our Arizona consumer, our Arizona residents are held to the highest regard. We're doing things the right way for them. It's through the partnership and through the collaboration of sharing that message is how we're going to continue to do things the right way and do things what we say over the last several years, the Arizona way. We want to preserve this great state, right? And we want to continue to have a really great reputation as real estate professionals. So I share that with you as just a plea. I think I'm preaching to the choir, but we can certainly share that message and continue to do things the right way. And that's the Arizona way. My office taught me about QR codes a few months ago. So any of you that want to take a customer service survey, this is available on our website also, but you can take your phone out and you can I'll leave that there for a bit and let us know how we're doing. Don't be shy about telling us areas where we can improve, items that we should focus on, as well as if you want to compliment the commissioner, you can tell everybody how much you like it. But you don't have to. You don't have to. And then I'll leave that out there for a moment. So that's my email address. Should you have any issues or questions directly and you're not sure where to go within the department, you can contact me directly and I'll make sure that you get to where you need to be for that. So at this time, any questions that you have, comments, suggestions, feedback, all ears. Yes, sir.
So, is there any discussion about raising barrier to entry for regulations?
Great question. What's your name, sir? Heat. Very good question. That's another question as I've gone around that I've gotten continuously. So, any of the requirements as far as the 90 hours to get a real estate license, right, for a salesperson and for a broker, the 90 hours of education, passing an examination through Pearson View our exam vendor as well. Those are all set by statute. So in order to change any of those requirements to both raise those requirements, so for instance, raising the hours, both for that or for continuing education, it would need to be done through a legislative change or a statute, would have to be amended. I've had lots of conversation about that over the last 10 years. We've talked about things like required mentoring programs, more continuing education, different education categories and the like. Those are all valid and warranted conversations to have. It would need a legislative change, and we would need some help to do that. So I share with you that that's something that you could be talked about within your groups, with the associations as well. And if there was an appetite for that, certainly a conversation to be had around the appropriateness of our requirements. I will share with you, Keith, that our 90 hours in Arizona is very similar to other states. And part of my job, I participate with a group of regulators in other states with I have a common position that I do as well. And in fact, the commissioner in Texas had the question for the group and said, how much education is enough education? Because they require like 140 hours, and they're having a conversation about whether it should be more. So it's certainly always a topic of conversation and one to be had. So, but that's sort of the process that Keith takes. Any other questions? Yes, Judy.
Can you clear up the confusion how a company that may have numbers in their title operate?
So without any specifics there, I will say that companies such as that have an Arizona real estate license, an entity license, are held to the same requirements and the same obligations of holding that license as all other real estate brokerages do. So in that example, not being specific, but they are an Arizona entity, brokerage as well, and they're held to the same standards. We've received lots of complaints about certain things at certain times of the year, maybe around the Super Bowl, right? And that's been throughout the state. We received those. Another area, another topic where I may have needed like an inbox on my desk of just how many were coming in. We review all of those to the extent that's required, which is extensive in some instances, and work with our Attorney General that's assigned to us to ensure that we're following and we understand what our statutes are and the requirements in response to them. So holding an Arizona real estate license, and that includes an entity license, is very held to a high standard for that. So as we receive those complaints, they're all reviewed exhaustively for that. But Judy, thank you for asking that question. Yes, ma'am.
What's the most common complaint that you hear?
It's a good question. Your name?
Paula.
Paula. So what's the most common complaint that we receive? I don't have the graph on here, but we do have one that shows all of them on a line graph or a bar graph that shows that. Failure to disclose material facts is a big one. Other than that, commonly it's been unlicensed activity inquiries over this last fiscal year. We have a bucket of complaints called violations of rules and regulations, which is one that comes in that is alleging everything, right? And goes to an investigator to sort out and really put it into buckets. But those are probably the two largest: failure to disclose material facts and unlicensed activity over this last year. That can change. It can change over a period, but we do track that. Thanks, Paul. Great question. Any others? All right, not seeing any. That's my email address. Let me know. I'm happy to answer your questions, and thanks again for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Commissioner Dettorre. He did speak about legislation that was passed about wholesaling, so I think this is a good segue. Rick Lopez wanted to talk for a couple minutes about RAPAC really quickly before we hear from NAU.
Jessica, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I think all of you have heard me before about RAPAC and the need for you to invest in RAPAC. And, you know, I can't stress enough how important this is, but just to give you a couple of little tidbits, in the last legislative session, even though it was a fairly easy legislative session here in the state of Arizona, we didn't have a lot of real problematic issues that came up. There were 1,700 bills introduced at the state legislature. A volunteer from our association, our state association, several volunteers, dozens of volunteers, read every single piece of legislation word for word to make sure that we would screen out those that would have an effect on our business, on our clients, one way or the other. That's 1,700 bills that none of us have to read. Okay? And I'm grateful for that, because I don't know what I would do if I had to sit and read all of that stuff. Okay? We sometimes, as people in this business, take for granted that all of this stuff is happening regardless. It just happens at the state, national level, at the local level. And to give you an example of how important this is to some associations in our state, Gary Nelson, who is our president of our association, a state association, he mentioned to me this morning that he was in Yuma yesterday, along with the commissioner, and their local association there has a goal of a 75% participation rate in their local association for RAPAC contributions. Currently, they are at 64% participation. I'm not even going to tell you what our participation rate is, but it's dismal compared to that. Okay? Now the ask, what we are asking for isn't the moon. We are asking for $35. 35 bucks. That's it. I can't imagine why everybody in our association wouldn't be willing to contribute 35 bucks, make an investment of 35 bucks. Because at the state, national level, and even here locally, it is money incredibly well spent, because everything that happens affects your business, affects your pocketbook, and affects your clients as well. So we should participate without any question. At the table, there is a brochure for you to participate. And there's also a notice here to sign up for Realtor Party mobile alerts. And that allows our state, our national association, our state association to let you know if there are issues in front of you that you need to be aware of. So I'm encouraging you, please participate. This being an election year with 2 bond issues that we're going to be facing here locally, we need the support. We need for you to make this investment. So please do. Thank you so much.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Rick,
Oh.
question, Rick.
Yes.
It's as easy as designating that $35 on our annual dues, correct?
That is one time when you can participate.
Yeah.
Okay, and I hope that a lot of people do. But again, it's easy. It's not complicated.
Thank you.
But a lot of people don't, and that's why we have these brochures. Okay.
So it is easy. Thank you, Rick. We all know that NAU is a big part of Flagstaff, and so it's really nice to have our NAU presenters and to have that bond within our community. And as an NAU graduate, I'm very excited to announce the NAU Associate Vice President of Community Relations, Josh Maher.
Good afternoon, everybody. Before I get into just a little bit about myself, I've been here in Flagstaff for about 2.5 years now. Come to Northern Arizona by way of Southern California. And so, when I first told my colleagues back in Southern California that I was coming to Arizona, everybody talked about how affordable real estate was, and that, you know, be able to buy 3 houses and all and all and all. So, you know, come to find out that, you know, the northern Arizona real estate market more closely reflects not inland Southern California where I'm from, but more coastal California. So it was a little bit of a shock to me, but you know, I've made do with you know, the $3,000 a month rent and all of that. So eventually like to you know, plant some roots here, but haven't been able to yet. I was hoping for a little more insight, but I got the Real Estate Regulation 101. Thank you, Commissioner. So I've been here for about 2.5 years, and contrary to the rumors, I did not bring COVID to Northern Arizona. But it's been an interesting ride since. You might know that about a year ago, we welcomed our new president to the institution, President Cruz Rivera, and he also has connections to Southern California. So, but he's very much embraced Northern Arizona and Flagstaff and just loves it here. And I think going forward, we're going to have, you're going to see from the Cruz Rivera administration a more intentional attempt to be visible and be a more, oh, sorry, I'll hold the remote, hold the mic a little closer. Gotcha, you got it. So you'll see a more intentional effort for from this administration for NAU to be a more visible part of the community. So with that, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation, Rick. And so I'll dive into it. I have just a few points of data. I certainly don't want to talk about things that you're not interested in. So if you have questions for me, please have those ready. I can talk about just about anything. But I wanted to talk about a little bit about some of our enrollment trends, some of the initiatives that are coming down the pike that may have some direct connection to the business that you're doing here in Northern Arizona. First, I wanted to talk a little bit about enrollment. So over the last several years, NAU has seen a very slow but gradual decrease in enrollment of about a few hundred students every year. And that's been since 2019. We had a peak enrollment in 2019 of just under 24,000 students. And we're projecting for fall of 2022 about 21,000. So we're about 3,000 students down from our peak. And what some of this data tells me is that while NAU certainly has an impact in the community, the enrollment numbers don't really provide a direct correlation to some of the congestion issues and traffic and cost of living issues that Flagstaff faces, contrary to a lot of folks in the community. And so, but we are projecting that with the fall 2022 numbers, when they come out, it's going to represent a drop. There's a lot of initiatives that are coming out that will help boost enrollment, and you'll hear a lot about what we're doing to increase enrollment at the Flagstaff campus. And you've also probably heard some numbers that aren't exactly correct. When people say that NAU's enrollment is at about 30,000, and that's true, but that really represents the statewide number. President Cruz Rivera has said that we hope to return to our peak enrollment numbers and sort of stay level at that over the next 4 to 5 years. And so with that, also we currently have, I want to make sure that everybody is aware that we have about 10,000 students who live on campus, and so that's about half of our total enrollment at the Flagstaff campus. And so again, it represents among the highest percentage of students that are housed directly on university campuses among universities in the United States. So that's a point that we're proud of, acknowledging that the cost of living is very high. And so we're doing things to make sure that students aren't significantly contributing to that supply issue or demand issue, and also trying to keep down costs for cost of attendance. So a little bit about our strategic direction in the next coming years. So you may have heard of the NAU Pledge program, which means that a student who enrolls in their freshman year, whatever their tuition rate is when they come in, it stays the same until they graduate. So unless you have a gap, like my friend Ray. But if you're, as long as you're continuing to be a student at NAU, your tuition does not increase. So again, you know, people don't have that shock in tuition increases while they're enrolled in school. So they have some consistency and they know what the price of education is going to be for the next 4, 5, 6, 10 years. You've also may have heard, and you'll likely hear more about President Cruz Rivera's Access to Excellence program, which takes effect in fall 2023, and that means that students from households that are in the 65,000 or less can attend NAU at no cost. And to be honest with you, some of those students, a lot of those students were attending at virtually no cost anyway, given a lot of the federal grants and state aid that comes our way anyway. But through some private donors, we've been able to fill those gaps, make sure that those students can attend NAU at no cost. You'll also hear more about, I alluded to it a little bit earlier, we're going to have a more statewide presence. It sounds weird to me that, you know, Northern Arizona University, I mean, Northern is in the name, but we have campuses in Yuma, throughout the valley, and what have you. And so when you see some of these initiatives to increase enrollment, we want to come back to the 2019 or 2018 peak and sort of stay level there, and then increase our enrollment broadly throughout the state. And so you'll probably see numbers where we sit around just under 30,000 now. You'll probably see numbers in the next several years, 35,000, 36,000 plus students. So there's that. Rick asked me to talk a little bit about some of our real estate holdings that you might be interested in. As you might know, because I get asked about it all the time, the NAU owns the former Grammys property. Was everybody aware of that?
Yeah.
Good. And then also the Mandarin Garden property. We also own 40 acres just south, across campus, across the 40, just south of campus. And then also the former WIG property, which is the extension of 4th Street and J.W. Powell. I can tell you that there's not a lot of movement on some of the bigger parcels, the 40 acres. There are plans and talks, nothing official, so don't hold me to it, that eventually that'll be some workforce housing. But you know, just given some of the topography issues, it's not going to be, you know, it's not going to make a huge dent. You're looking at probably at most, you know, 150 units or something along those lines. So it's not huge, although I know it will make some dent. Just like, you know, a lot of the larger employers, we are having our own workforce retention issues, just given the cost of living here. Sort of same goes for the 120-acre former WIC property. Now that the City Council has sort of set an alignment for the extension of John Wesley Powell Boulevard, that at one point the preferred alignment for that road cut right through the corner of our property out there, which we liked, honestly, but understanding that some of the dynamics have changed, and the route that they settled on comes fairly close to our properties still, and so we're good with that. And so once the road comes through and so the associated infrastructure, that'll open up some increased possibilities with that property right there. Related to the former Granny's property, that's 1.26 acres. We wanted to let you know that the Granny's lot itself is one thing, but the property as faces Mike's Pike. There's a couple of shacks that are there. Those shacks are scheduled to be demolished. I think within the next couple of weeks or so, you might see the fences coming up, and so I think the community will be proud of that. I field a lot of questions about the nuisance that those properties create for the community. So, in terms of our plans for that property, there's not, at one point, I think that there were plans to make that whole section part of the, and eventually acquire the, I think it's called the Jack now, but those plans have since gone by the wayside. And so the university, while it's certainly not on the market, we are interested in unloading that property. So if anybody who's in the commercial real estate realm, let me know if you got any. It's an odd-shaped property, so there's challenges there. But 1.26 acres, we acquired it back in 2018, I think, for about $5 million. So that's the skinny on that. With the Mandarin Gardens property, that's just under 2 acres. We are in the middle of our campus master plan process, actually at the very beginning of our campus master plan process, which I know when we acquired that property, we said that we're at the beginning of our campus master plan process, but it's real this time. We have a consultant on contract, and so we're in the process of figuring out what that property will mean to us. And we do want to retain that property in some way, just given that it's contiguous to the rest of the campus there. I know at one point there was some discussion about making that a new gateway entrance to campus, but there's a whole host of issues with ADOT that make that a little challenging. So with that, I think I've sort of given the high level. If anybody has questions for me about the future of NAU, where we're headed, I'm happy to answer those now. Yes?
Does President Cruz's fall 2023 plan take away from the CC to NAU program?
No, it doesn't. If you didn't hear the question was related to the CCC to NAU program that allows for a direct pipeline from students that are taking classes at CCC to be part of NAU or earn NAU credits in the meantime. It's actually sort of the opposite. We're looking to strengthen our relationship with the community colleges throughout the state. Most of our 20 campuses around the state are housed on community college campuses. And so we're going to be looking to strengthen that pipeline and actually create some programs that better serve the local workforce, whether that's certificates or badging or, like you said, increasing that pipeline, what have you. That's what we're looking to do. So, President Cruz Rivera's mission is really, and his vision for NAU is really a access-driven mission. Making sure that people have an opportunity to enroll and earn a bachelor's degree, no matter where you are in the state. So, thank you for the question. Any others? Okay.
What's the percentage of the enrollment that are in state versus out of state or out of country?
We run about 2/3. 2/3 of our students are Arizona students. Our next highest market, not surprising, is California. When I talk to students from California, and one of the biggest reasons is that it turns out that despite the Cal State system's very great affordability, most of the students that come from Arizona, come from California, are actually able to attend NAU for a lower cost than they could within California. And that's through, I mean, there's a whole host of reasons, but there's an agreement, with the Western colleges that sort of allow for students to attend any public university within California, Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, a couple others that essentially at not the out-of-state cost. So a lot of California students, a lot of Texas students. Yes?
I'm sorry, I wasn't in the room, so I apologize if you said this, but what did you say that the enrollment was, and then are we finding the student housing needs right now?
So the current projected enrollment is just under 21,000. And we have capacity for about 10,500 students on campus, and we encourage all of the students that can to take advantage of our housing on campus. Just understanding, being responsive to the community sentiment about the impact of students outside of campus. We want to do everything we can to make sure that students have an opportunity to live in an affordable place, meals included, on campus. So we're sensitive to the notion that we are the primary driver for some of these less popular, higher density developments. We believe that there's obviously a market for those developments, but that's a market-driven decision, not our direct decision. Yes?
I was going to ask, are those on-campus housing options, are they at capacity, and what is the current cost in regards to the community cost of living to live?
In terms of capacity, those run at about 90%, so we do have some capacity. We like to keep a bit of a buffer. In terms of cost, I'd have to get back to you on the cost. We do know that it's more affordable to stay on campus than it is outside of campus, just given that utilities, meal plans, sometimes laundry are included in the cost. So, but I can get back to you with the specifics. I saw a hand come up over.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about the women board.
Sure thing, yeah. We don't have any immediate plans to build more housing on campus. We built a couple of properties with American Campus Communities over the last several years. A lot of the future of what our campus will look like will be dictated by the campus master plan. And so we do hope to be back to you in the next several months, just to make sure that you have an opportunity to give input very, very directly. And also understanding that the campus master plan, while it dictates to primarily the campus itself, it also talks a lot about how we interface with the community as well. Acknowledging that, when you look at a map of Flagstaff, NAU looks like an island, In some ways, we've admittedly functioned like an island. But we do know and we acknowledge that we need to do a better job about changing it. And so we're going to be very intentional about taking community input, and you're obviously part of the community. So, everybody from folks like yourselves, Chamber of Commerce, neighborhood groups, and folks like that over the next probably 6 months or so. Yes?
In the event the hospital moves forward with their plans for their new medical campus, is NAU actively talking with Northern Arizona Healthcare in terms of utilizing their existing facilities?
We have not had any direct conversations related to their existing facility.
And then I have another question. So when I went to college at NAU, we had this thing called Tequila Sunrise.
Tell me about Tequila Sunrise. What do you hear?
I've never heard about it. I'm not proud of those days. Along the lines of what you were just saying with the interaction with the community, not only is it been a problem that you see in the papers, but I've actually driven downtown, been downtown the next morning, and it's really embarrassing. It's saddening to see kids that are extremely intoxicated, falling down drunk that next morning. And it's dangerous, it's not good for them, it's not good for the community, so it's a real issue. What is NAU doing to turn the tide on that?
Well, we officially, NAU says that, was it Tequila Sunrise? Just making sure. Officially, Tequila Sunrise is not a NAU sanctioned event. And we've done a lot in the most recent years to try to distance ourselves from those activities, but also not turning a blind eye to the issue that it represents to the community. And also, one thing that we've also seen is that it's, if you follow social media, you see folks from Tucson coming up for Tequila Sunrise, which just blows my mind. Like, there's got to be places between Flagstaff and Tucson to get to have a good time, I'm sure. But acknowledging that it is an issue for the community. I know that wasn't a popular decision back under President Chang's administration to bring the homecoming parade, for example, back onto campus. But it was an attempt to say, these are the activities that are sanctioned by the university. These are the things that we condone, this wholesome parade, versus some of the debauchery that takes place in downtown and even parts of the south side. So having said that, we don't sanction any events. I know a lot of some of the fraternity and sorority organizations try to hold a lot of events around homecoming. We don't sanction or we don't approve of any events that take place. We also have a very strong connection between NAU PD and Flagstaff PD to help curtail some of those events that happen in the south side specifically, or particularly in the residential neighborhoods. We also interface directly with the state liquor, I forget the agency, the liquor enforcement folks. But at the end of the day, while we can do all these things and discourage these activities with our students and what have you, we, other than working with our partners with Flagstaff PD, the Downtown Business Alliance, and what have you, to try to move the opening of the bars, later in the day, rather than, I don't know when they open now, 5 a.m. or
Dawn.
but it's ridiculous. But we've advocated strongly against a lot of these things that lead to the more ugly behavior in our community. So it's a process, but it's become almost, part of the Flagstaff culture, unfortunately. We don't like it, but also the business owners, some of the bar owners, I think very much do. So there's that. But we discourage as much as we can. It's kind of a long answer. I tried to dance around. Sorry.
So current Washington administration wants to waive student debt. What does NAU or other state universities take on that, and what are you doing so that that's not a situation we need to handle in Washington?
Well, we, acknowledging that the administration is doing what they're going to do. We try to affect what we can in a more direct way, in driving down the cost of attendance in any way that we can, so that ultimately we lower the student loan burden on students that are enrolled now. Once they're out, once they've graduated and no longer taking on debt, that's outside of our scope of control. But we do want to minimize the amount of debt that students have to take out from the front end, and that's ultimately all we can directly control. We don't have at this point an official stance on any loan forgiveness.
So what is NAU doing to reduce or keep tuition low?
So we've, one of those things is the pledge program, where students who are enrolled can have that flat tuition from the very start. We, for any student that's under a certain income threshold, can attend NAU for at no cost, other than cost of living or what have you. And then there's also making sure that we're engaging our private donors to help fill the gap in free student aid that exists. We're currently looking to hire a new vice president for advancement that'll engage both corporate, private, personal donors that'll help fill those gaps in tuition. Yep.
What is the amount of private and corporate donations that they?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. I can give it to you.
What sort of endowment does it?
Again, I'm not sure. I can definitely look that up. It's not huge. I can tell you that much. We've recently gone through several vice presidents of advancement, and so the endowment isn't what it ought to be. But one of the points in the position description is to grow that endowment. All right. If you have any questions that you didn't get to, I'll be here for a bit. I have my card, and if I told you I'd get back to you, if you want to touch base with me and give me your contact information, I'm happy to do that. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Judy.
Okay, that concludes our program. Any other questions, concerns? Right? Okay. Thank you everyone for attending. Have a great week.